The World's Over Journal. Samuraith. Prelude. The Beauty of What Once Was. 'Twas an hour or two before the dawn, one night as its deepest black, a small caravan of peasant families in 3 ox-driven wagons and a single old horse carriage are traveling upon a solemn isolated road in the dense pine forest of the mountains, which their path had brought them to. We find them heading towards hope of new lives in a far-off town upon the great plain of whence they came. It was so distant an age away, but now they are close and they can feel it, for they can see the last mountain pass and their way out of this infinite, treacherous darkness. Thick underbrush hindered them on both sides. Here and there it encroached them upon the road, especially where trees had fallen across it, though this was few. It was seldom used since the last war. It had fallen into ruin and despair. It had been unattended, and less as time went on, until it was just a remote pass. From a vale scorched by fire they had traveled. The flames of the magic fire consumed their crops, their homes, and several family members. It was, in fact, on a night much like this, though dawn had come, as the flames erupted in the valley they once called home. A bright little town, with but one lane, whose shops were once held in high regard, like that of the baker whose bread was fantastic, and everyone in town went there, or their wives did, for them. And a rolling pin, and then there was the blacksmith, whose vast knowledge of weaponry from distant lands, perhaps the finest swords, scythes, and threshes, for those farmers to townsmen and heroes that had come through. A happy little village of 100, or just a couple more, maybe just a few, isolated from the feudal class system which had crept in its back way into neighboring villages until the day the fire swept through the vale. Naught but the main town hub was left. All the farms and their crops were swallowed by the flame of a pyre that threatened to steal the whole vale, the whole valley in a violent fire. It moved swiftly through, and it seemed by magic, for there was barely a wind to stir it and cause it to swell so quickly about the fields and fires. It lingered until everything was gone. Everything, all the food. There was no reasonable manner to survive the winter, so the townsfolk were forfeit, along with a great many who had died in a once beautiful village in an amazing valley where one river ran through it. Out from the darkness our travelers had come, into the midst of a wide open meadow filled with fern and tall grass. They were in the highland realms now, though slowly making their way into a lower passage from the northern mountains. It was nearly summer, so no snow reflected the moonlight, which was veiled by cloud and the precipices over the tops of the mountain tops. A most ordinary band of peasants, for they had no magical properties about them, save for abundance of hope. For despite their long hard road, they clung to it like it was life itself. They had traveled in a fashion befitting the lowest of their class. Once they had left the valley, the feudal regime of a class system had found them naught but the lowest of the tier and a rung, 3 farmers and their family members. Now they were naught but peasants, slaves to be toiled and paid for their lives. Great risks they took, for they journeyed alone, as they had no money exiting the vale, for that beyond their carts and the food they measured to get them to the other end of the journey. As they had nothing left, they had no particular amount of fashionable goods to portray themselves, in which to provide themselves with a hero. Unlike most who would pass through the mountains that were so wary, a warrior would come with them on such a treacherous journey. The many leagues are a great distance, and there are dangers in the darkness, especially in the mountains, at night. But they had no hero and no guarantee of hope against the evils on the road. hope that they would not be taken. This is the dream and the beginning of a short story of the Samuraith and those who fell before him. I hope you have enjoyed this small reading. I'm not particularly the best at it yet, but this is a new endeavor for me, and well, as long as it gets the words out there, that's what matters most, because therein, maybe someday I'll get a contract to be just the basic form of writer and share all these words in a different format with you, wherein you won't have to hear this pathetic voice. But for now, you can listen to this or find it on my blog. You guys have a great night, and enjoy.